I heard my name through the crack in the door. She'll never know. She thinks the account's still untouched. It was my mom's voice, quiet, flat, like she was talking about an old lamp they'd sold. She's not getting into Stanford anyway, my dad added. They both laughed. The kind of laughter that stings because it's not meant to be cruel. It's meant to be normal. Like this is just what parents do. I stood there frozen, the folder in my hand with my acceptance letter inside. I didn't move, didn't speak. I just stared at the floor, listening to the sound of my future being brushed off like dust on a shelf. My chest felt hollow, like someone had scooped out everything important and left me with just the shell. The hallway felt longer than usual as I backed away from their door. My socks made no sound on the carpet. They kept talking, but their voices faded into white noise. All I could hear was my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I didn't walk in. I didn't confront them. I walked out the front door and went to the library. I stared at the acceptance letter. Stanford, my dream. The tuition cost danced in front of me like a joke. I checked the bank app. The account said $46.07. It used to have $61,000. My hands shook as I refreshed the screen 3 times, hoping the numbers would change. They didn't. 11 years of birthday money, lawn mowing, tutoring sessions, babysitting late nights, gone. I sat there in the library's quiet corner, surrounded by books about other people's dreams, watching mine crumble on a tiny phone screen. The acceptance letter felt heavy in my hands, like it was made of lead instead of paper. People walked past me, laughing, studying, living normal lives where parents didn't steal futures. I folded the letter carefully and put it in my backpack. Then I just sat there, staring at $46.17 until the numbers blurred. My name is Emma. I'm 19. My parents started a college savings account for me when I was 8, or so they said. I mowed lawns, tutored kids down the street, babysat screaming toddlers until midnight. Every dollar I made, I gave them to deposit. They called it responsible. They said it would teach me the value of money. They said they were proud of how hard I worked. They made me feel special for being so mature, so dedicated. I believed them when they showed me the growing balance. I believed them when they said it was all for my education. I believed them when they promised it would be enough. Turns out, I was saving for them, not me. The joke was on me, and I was the only one who didn't get it. For 11 years, I was funding their lie. 3 days later, I found the Stanford envelope crumpled in the kitchen trash. I hadn't shown it to them yet. Someone had opened it, read it, and tossed it. No congratulations, no excitement, just garbage. I pulled it out carefully, smoothing the wrinkles. The letter was still there, somehow untouched by coffee grounds and potato peels. My name printed in official Stanford letterhead. My acceptance, my achievement, treated like junk mail. I stood there holding it, understanding that they already knew. They'd known for days. While I was agonizing over how to tell them, they were throwing my future away. The envelope was torn along the top where they'd ripped it open. They couldn't even be careful about destroying my dreams. I washed the coffee stains off the letter and dried it with paper towels. Then I put it in my room, in the drawer where I kept things that mattered. I asked them directly, "What happened to the savings account?" My mom smiled tightly. "We had to use it. You know, the roof leak, and your dad's surgery." My dad added, "And you still live here. That costs something." I said nothing, just nodded. They thought I was thanking them, but I was memorizing. Every word, every excuse, every lie wrapped in fake concern. They looked relieved when I didn't argue, like they'd expected a fight and were surprised by my calm. My mom even patted my shoulder. "You understand, sweetheart, family first, right?" I nodded again. Let them think I was grateful. Let them think I was small. But inside, something sharp and clear was forming. A decision I didn't have words for yet. They mistook my silence for acceptance. That was their first mistake. 2 weeks later, I heard my mom telling a friend, "No, the insurance covered the roof last year, but she'd told me the college fund paid for it." That was the first crack. I stopped walking and listened from the hallway. "We got lucky," she laughed. "Didn't cost us a penny." My chest tightened. The first lie I caught red-handed, so I started writing things down. Just small notes at first. Dates, conversations, contradictions. I used an old composition notebook from school. Black and white cover, nothing special. But every lie I caught went in there. Every story that changed. every excuse that didn't match. I wrote in pencil so my hand wouldn't cramp during long sessions. The pages filled faster than I expected. Turns out when you start paying attention, the lies pile up like leaves in fall. It was just a plain spiral notebook. I started logging conversations, dates, receipts, screenshots of texts, bank activity. I wasn't sure what I was building, but I knew I was building something. Each page became evidence. Each entry became proof. I dated everything, timed everything. I took pictures of their purchases and recorded their explanations. When they said the fund paid for Dad's surgery, I found the insurance statements showing it was covered. When they claimed emergency home repairs, I found contractor receipts dated months before the fund was emptied. My handwriting got neater as I practiced. This wasn't just angry scribbling anymore. This was documentation. I bought page dividers to organize it properly. Bank statements in one section, conversations in another, lies and contradictions in a third. The notebook grew thick with their deceptions. They bought a new TV. Dad upgraded his truck. A family trip to Mexico. The one I wasn't invited to because I needed to stay home and focus on scholarships. Every purchase, every contradiction. Logged. The TV was 65 inches, mounted on the living room wall like a trophy. Dad's truck was silver, fully loaded, with leather seats he showed off to neighbors. The Mexico trip photos filled their social media for weeks. Beaches, restaurants, smiling selfies. While I ate ramen noodles and applied for work-study programs, I printed out their vacation photos and put them in the notebook. Next to the dates when my college fund was being drained. Next to their texts telling me money was tight. The contrast was clear. Their joy was built on my sacrifice. My future had funded their fun. I didn't ask for the money back, didn't scream, didn't cry. That would have made them feel powerful. I smiled. I kept helping with groceries. I kept saying thank you when they left me gas money. Let them believe I was still small. Let them think their lies had worked. I became the daughter they wanted, quiet, grateful, undemanding. I complimented Dad's truck. I admired Mom's new kitchen gadgets. I asked about their vacation like I was happy for them. They relaxed around me, started talking freely about money again, mentioning purchases, plans, expenses. They forgot to be careful. That was their second mistake. They gave me everything I needed to build my case, all because I smiled instead of screamed. At a birthday party, my cousin said, Aunt Maria said, your college fund helped everyone get through the pandemic. That's so generous. Everyone turned to look at me. I smiled and said, yeah, I guess. Inside, I wrote her name in the notebook, witness. My cousin's words hung in the air like smoke. Other relatives nodded approvingly. That's what family does, someone said. You're so mature, Emma. I kept smiling, but my stomach churned. They were praising me for something I never agreed to, for generosity I never showed. My aunt had made me into a saint without asking permission. The birthday cake tasted like cardboard after that. I excused myself early, drove home, and added the conversation to my notebook. Date, location, witnesses, exact words. The truth was becoming a weapon I wasn't ready to use yet. I got a part-time job at a bookstore, shared a one-bedroom with 3 roommates near campus. They called it ungrateful. You're abandoning the family, Mom said. You think you're better than us now? Dad asked. I didn't respond. I just packed. My belongings fit in 4 cardboard boxes and 2 garbage bags. 11 years of life reduced to something I could carry. The bookstore job paid minimum wage, but it was mine. My apartment was crowded and loud, but it was honest. No lies hiding in the corners. No fake smiles over stolen money. My roommates were broke college students who split everything fairly. They respected boundaries. They kept their promises. Living with strangers felt more like family than home ever had. My parents called every day for a week, then every few days, then stopped calling at all. While filling out financial aid, I discovered they'd claimed me as a dependent and listed the savings account as if it still existed. It looked like I had money I didn't, which blocked my aid. I filed an appeal and kept the paperwork. The FAFSA showed $61,000 in assets I couldn't access, money that belonged to me on paper but not in reality. The financial aid office treated me like a rich kid pretending to be poor. Their rejection letter was polite but firm. I printed everything. Tax forms showing me as a dependent, bank statements showing the empty account, FAFSA documents showing phantom money. The evidence was building itself. Their lies were creating consequences they didn't expect. I submitted form after form, appealing their claims, documenting the truth. Each rejection made my case stronger. Each lie they told trapped them further. A financial aid officer named Miss Rivas reviewed my documents. She saw my bank statements, the empty account, my parents' tax forms. She said, "Emma, this is serious. You might qualify for dependency override." For the first time, someone believed me. My documentation had weight. Miss Rivas spread my papers across her desk like a detective examining evidence. She frowned at the contradictions, asked questions that had real answers, treated my situation like it mattered. "This isn't normal family financial stress," she said carefully. "This appears to be misuse of designated funds." Her words gave my experience a name. Validation. She helped me fill out forms I didn't know existed, forms that could free me from my parents' financial control. For the first time since finding the empty account, I felt hope. I got a long text from my mom. Not an apology, a defense. She wrote, "You'll understand when you have your own kids. We made hard choices. That's what family does." I screenshotted it, labeled it emotional manipulation, not remorse. The text arrived at 2 a.m., like guilt had kept her awake. 17 paragraphs about sacrifice and responsibility, about how much it cost to raise a child, about how ungrateful my generation was, not one word admitting fault, not one acknowledgement of promises broken, just justification wrapped in fake wisdom. I read it 3 times, then saved it to my evidence folder. Her words would make perfect exhibit material. They showed no understanding of what she'd done, no regret, no intention to change, just self-pity disguised as parental wisdom. The text made my case better than any argument I could craft. They asked to meet for dinner. I said no. They called me ungrateful, said I owed them respect. I said one sentence: "Respect is not the same as silence." They tried calling after that, left voicemails about family loyalty and broken hearts, sent texts about how I was tearing the family apart. Each message went into the notebook. Each guilt trip became evidence. They couldn't understand why silence upset them so much. For years, my quiet compliance had been their comfort. Now my quiet defiance was their nightmare. I wasn't giving them the fight they expected. Wasn't providing the drama they could use to paint me as the problem. I was just absent. Politely, permanently absent. That scared them more than screaming ever could have. Their messages got more desperate as days passed. I was approved as an independent student, which meant I qualified for full aid. They didn't know yet. I didn't tell them. I let them believe I was drowning while I was rebuilding. The approval letter came on a Tuesday. Full financial aid package, work-study program, emergency grant for housing, everything I needed to stay in school without them. I folded the letter carefully and put it in my drawer next to the Stanford acceptance. 2 pieces of paper that represented freedom. My parents still thought they had leverage, still believed their financial control trapped me. They checked my social media for signs of struggle, called mutual friends asking if I seemed desperate. I let them wonder, let them assume their sabotage had worked. While quietly, methodically, I built a life they couldn't touch. They told the extended family I dropped out and was taking time off to work through things. I wasn't invited to Thanksgiving, but my friend's mom made me a plate. I ate it while editing my midterm paper. With peace. The Thanksgiving lies spread through family group chats and phone calls. Cousins texted asking if I was okay. Aunts sent concerned messages about wasted potential. I didn't correct the narrative, didn't defend myself, let them believe what they wanted. The truth would surface eventually. My friend Zoe's family welcomed me like I belonged. Her mom piled my plate high with turkey and stuffing, asked about my classes, my goals, my happiness. No judgment, no interrogation, just genuine care. I helped with dishes and watched football and felt normal, like families could actually be safe spaces. Aunt Bella called me out of the blue, said she'd heard 2 versions of my story, asked for the truth. I told her. She went silent. Then she said, "That explains a lot." 2 days later, she called my parents out in the family group chat. Screenshots, quotes. Truth? Aunt Bella was my mom's younger sister, the one who asked hard questions at family gatherings. She'd always seemed skeptical of my parents' stories. When I explained everything to her, she listened without interrupting, asked for details, requested proof. I sent her photos from my notebook, bank statements, text screenshots, evidence I'd been collecting for months. Her silence stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. Then she exhaled slowly and said, "I'm so sorry, Emma. I should have asked sooner." The family group chat exploded after her post. Suddenly I was getting texts. Cousins, uncles. "Is this true? Why didn't you say anything? Are you okay?" I didn't answer. I just kept screenshotting. My phone buzzed constantly for 3 days. Family members I hadn't heard from in years suddenly needed to check on me. Some seemed genuinely concerned. Others felt guilty for believing my parents' version. A few were angry at being lied to. I collected every message, every question, every expression of shock. The family's unity was cracking like ice in spring. People were choosing sides, asking for proof, demanding explanations from my parents. I stayed quiet and documented everything. Their lies were unraveling without any help from me. Truth has its own momentum once it starts moving. One of my professors nominated me for a prestigious scholarship, full ride. I told my story, truthfully, calmly, in the essay. Not a sob story, a survival story. They awarded it to me. $120,000, no parental signatures needed. Professor Williams called me into her office on a Friday afternoon, said my perseverance impressed her, that my academic performance, despite personal challenges, deserved recognition. The scholarship application asked about obstacles overcome. I wrote about broken trust and stolen futures, about building independence from nothing, about learning that families don't always protect you. The selection committee said my essay was compelling, that my grades proved my commitment, that my story demonstrated character. The money came with no strings attached. No family involvement required. Just me, my transcript, and my ability to keep moving forward. My dad texted, "You're turning the whole family against us. That's not how we raised you." I replied, "Exactly." Silence. The text arrived while I was studying for finals. One line of accusation followed by my one-word answer. Perfect symmetry. He was right. They'd raised me to be quiet, compliant, grateful, to accept whatever they decided was best, to trust their judgment over my own. But their betrayal had taught me something else. That blind obedience wasn't virtue. That questioning authority wasn't disrespect. That protecting myself wasn't selfishness. My reply said everything that needed saying. They'd created the person who could stand up to them. The irony was perfect. After that text, he stopped contacting me entirely. Mom's messages became less frequent too. They were finally understanding that their words had lost power over me. I went home one last time. Not to reconcile. To pick up my birth certificate and social security card. My mom asked, "Are you really cutting us off?" I said, "No, I'm just not carrying you anymore." Then I left. The house looked smaller than I remembered. Cluttered with the things my money had bought. The big TV dominated the living room. Dad's truck keys sat on the counter. Vacation photos covered the refrigerator, evidence of their choices everywhere I looked. Mom followed me around while I gathered documents, trying to start conversations, apologizing for things that didn't matter while ignoring the one thing that did. I found my papers in Dad's filing cabinet: birth certificate, social security card, passport I'd never used, the official pieces of my identity they'd controlled. When I had everything, I walked to the door without looking back. They tried to lie on next year's taxes, but someone reported them. Not me. Maybe the aunt. Maybe someone else. The IRS started asking questions. They needed proof the college fund was used for family expenses. There was none. The audit notice arrived in a certified envelope, official letterhead, detailed questions about educational savings account distributions, requirements for documentation, deadlines for compliance. My parents called me, panicked. Asked if I'd reported them. I told the truth. I hadn't. The IRS had their own ways of finding inconsistencies. Their lies had attracted official attention without any help from me. They begged me to help them respond, to confirm their story. I said no. Not angrily, not vindictively, just no. They'd made their choices. Now they could explain them to the government. Extended family stopped visiting. Church friends stopped calling. Dad's business lost clients. Mom posted a cryptic Facebook status, "Betrayal doesn't always come from strangers." Nobody responded. Truth has a gravity they didn't expect. Their social circle shrank as people learned what they'd done. Some actively took sides against them. Others just quietly distanced themselves. Dad's contracting business struggled as word spread. Mom's book club found reasons to meet elsewhere. Their reputation crumbled like a house built on sand. The Facebook posts stayed up for days with 0 likes or comments, a public confession of their isolation. They'd traded my future for temporary comfort. Now they were facing permanent consequences. The family name they'd claimed to protect was damaged beyond repair, all because they couldn't admit fault or accept responsibility. I didn't sue, didn't demand repayment, didn't shame them publicly. I just lived. Graduated with honors, started grad school with no debt. Got a job they said I'd never qualify for. I didn't take anything back. I just stopped giving. The scholarship covered everything. Tuition, housing, books, expenses. I graduated debt-free with a degree in economics and a minor in business. My thesis about financial literacy won a departmental award. Grad school accepted me with full funding. The job offer came before I finished, a consulting firm that valued my analytical skills and personal resilience. My parents heard about my success through relatives. Through social media posts they weren't invited to like, through a life that happened completely without them. I built everything they said I couldn't achieve. Proved every doubt wrong, not for revenge but for peace. Would you have done the same?